5 minutes, Chris, and a bell after 4. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Chris Delatour. I was persuaded to address this council committee as I understand that Auckland Transport have confirmed more cycle lanes during tough financial times. My experience with AT is that they choose to listen only to feedback that suits them. I started cycling 6 years ago. I averaged 250 k's per week all over Auckland, often solo or with family and friends. I also help with the less capable riders in a school cycling squad. I have voluntarily written and implemented comprehensive health and safety procedures for 2 secondary school cycling squads. I sat on the 2 Auckland Transport Community Liaison groups trying to rectify the Waitemata safe route problems. I am one of many cyclists in Auckland who are dismayed by the proliferation of poorly designed and hazardous cycleways being retrofitted into Auckland roads. The strong lobbying from some bike groups is really alarming, as there are truckloads of other cyclists out there who have different views. As a ratepayer and cyclist, I have serious concerns about the costs associated with AT's track record of implementing unsatisfactory cycleway projects. The most recent being Ngāpipi Road from Ōrākei Basin to Tamaki Drive just last week, as well as GI's Tanawha Street, Mission Bay and Upper Harbour Drive. In fact, I cannot recall a cycling project on Auckland streets or footpaths over the last 5 years where safety and design issues have not been raised. Many councillors here will be aware of these. The costs associated with fixing, or in some cases part fixing or not fixing, the safety problems arising, are outrageous and make AT look incompetent. So my question to this committee is, why has approval been given for more of these designs to go ahead? It does not seem a good business decision to spend ratepayer money on projects that can create more problems than they solve. I'll give you just 5 examples of safety issues in current and proposed designs. Firstly, bi-directional or 2-way cycleways are generally too narrow and therefore far too dangerous. Secondly, cycle lanes routed behind bus stops and more recently routed between bus shelters and passengers disembarking and embarking from buses. Thirdly, lack of consistency in design, including confusing on and off-road routes, bends restricting views and materials used. Fourthly, this is a goodie, large concrete separators or Tim Tams. The consequences of a cyclist hitting a concrete block are quite significant, so many won't go there. And lastly, lack of maintenance for existing cycleways. There seems to be no budget or machinery for regular sweeping of debris such as gravel, glass, tree foliage, i.e. hazards for cyclists. Overgrown shrubs and weeds continually restrict cycleway width as well. These design issues all lead to collisions with other users, which will become more frequent if user numbers increase. The bike lobby mantra of build it and they will come should actually be keep building it like this and they will not come. I do understand AT's design ideology, and all new housing and roading developments should include appropriate cycleways funded by developers. Absolutely no question. Also of benefit is funding the completion of purpose-built cycleways such as Te Whao. However, AT seems to be unwilling to reach out to any sensible road cyclists when trying to retrofit cycle paths. We ride thousands of kilometres around the city every day and know most of the potholes, drains, gutters, debris, vegetation, gravel, road furniture, idiotic light phasing and unsafe intersections. We also know what works well. We are motorists and business people too, and we have sympathy for loss of parking and small businesses trying to survive. Auckland's transport consultations and surveys are a joke, hijacked by bike lobby groups. Waka Kotahi recently published results from the Waitemata Harbour Connection survey. Of 4,389 survey responses, 66% said they would walk or cycle across the harbour if they could. Really? The implication being that 66% of the population are likely to walk or cycle across the bridge on a regular basis? I don't think so. Are these the sorts of survey results AT are generating and spinning to in order to justify their projects? Of course I want cycle lanes, but I am opposed to poorly designed hazardous ones. I urge this committee to seriously consider why ratepayers should tolerate more spending on hazardous designs. Why should ratepayers also be paying the costs of debating and fixing the safety problems that result? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. A couple of quick questions from Councillor Fletcher and Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Chris, for your submission. I declare conflict in terms of my question straight up. I have 3 grandchildren at Richmond Road School. So I'm really pulled by so much lobbying. I want my grandchildren to be able to safely bicycle to Richmond Road School. But the chair has very sensibly suggested, while we recognise that it's a delegated responsibility to Auckland Transport, there is political input that we want to make, and I want to make it in an intelligent way. And so the chair has, I think, very sensibly suggested a site visit. How do we actually really understand this unless we are prepared to commit the time to go and actually look at the area? What would you recommend? You could tell us now, or you could come, because I know we're short of time, but in terms of that site visit, to maximise the use of time, to actually look at those safety issues, to recognise the needs of children in the area, but have better design, I'd really welcome your sensible input into how we can optimise our site visit for this particular matter.
Yes, well, certainly I would be happy to assist. I would say, just with regard to children cycling to school, as a parent myself, with a now 18 and 20-year-old, and there was a point made earlier about, children shouldn't be cycling by themselves under 12. I completely agree. I work with a cycling squad at the moment. The youngest kids are 13. I don't actually believe kids should be cycling by themselves until they're around 15 or 16, personally. And that's ones that are reasonably competent. So I would suggest that if your children are primary school aged children, that they shouldn't be unsupervised cycling to school no matter what. That would be my comment from a cyclist and from a parent's perspective and from working with school kids.
Yeah. Councillor Walker.
Question, can we receive a copy of your submission, and can it be in the agenda? And the question is, essentially what you're putting, are you not, that there are systemic issues as well as local issues with this proposed cycleway?
Yes, look, I deliberately didn't address any specific cycleway project because I believe that there are problems with all of these projects, and that is what the message was that I was trying to convey. So, there are all sorts of varieties with the different projects, and yes, I do believe it is systemic, and I do believe that there are no flexibilities within the millions of dollars that have been spent on the Auckland transport design manuals, and I don't understand the reasoning for routing cycleways between a bus shelter and people alighting from a bus, for example, which I think is in some of these designs, and it's also in this Tanifar Street down in GI at the moment, which they've put them in. It just is ludicrous. It just doesn't make sense, and I don't understand why they would even consider it.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for your presentation.